Welcome everyone. I'm Beth Helberg, the Director of Events for NAFA Texas, and I want to welcome you to our virtual event, How to Zoom, All the Basics to Keep You Connected. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and interview Sheryl Hickerson. Let me go over a few housekeeping notes first. So we'd like to, if you have a camera, please turn it on since this is a how to Zoom event. And if you're not quite sure how to do that yet, I'm sure Sheryl will get to that. We do want you to go ahead and use the mute function on your microphone or phone until you have a question. But Sheryl said this is a casual event, so go ahead and feel free to ask questions or use the chat box as you have them. So go ahead and unmute or use the chat box, and we'll be looking at that. The event is being recorded, and we'll make that available to all the registrants. So let me introduce Sheryl Hickerson. Sheryl is an international speaker on social and digital marketing strategies for financial services organizations. Sheryl Hickerson has worked with thousands of professionals to grow the presence of financial services profession through online platforms. In 2018, Sheryl started Females in Finance, a private online membership organization dedicated to fostering recruitment, training, and advancement of women in a financial service or financial technology role. Membership today recently crested 2,800 professionals with no signs of letting up. After 30 years in financial services, Sheryl has dedicated her professional life to promoting better networking and diversity initiatives within her community. So welcome, Sheryl, and welcome everyone else. We're really happy to have you. So I'll turn it over to you, Sheryl, and let you get going.
All right, I'm excited. So just so you guys know, NAFA is kind of near and dear to my heart. So Females in Finance is actually a NAFA affiliated company. We have a memorandum of understanding with NAFA. And so when you think of other organizations such as IRI, you can also think of Females in Finance, because I work very closely with Kevin and Suzanne Kirwan and Brian Steiner and Money and all of them. And I've actually was invited last, I guess it was earlier this year. It seems like last year, but it was earlier this year, to your State of Texas conference. So when you hear Brian Haney and people like that, these are people who are my friends, my kin. So I am an international speaker in social and digital marketing. I like to come in and kind of give you guys some really great ideas of ways to use things. But we're in COVID America today. It's not going to go away. And so instead of saying, oh, the new normal or unprecedented times and all the things that people are saying, rather instead, we have to adopt and adapt our practices to what everyone is going through. And I'm going to tell you, the Zoom call that we're on right now, would it shock anyone to know that I do a minimum of 40 of these a week? So it's something I am very familiar with. And so I see a lot of people struggling though still on how to navigate some places and how to use certain things. The very first thing that I want to point out is if you put your mouse or your mouse pad on your laptop, if that's what you're doing, there's a chat feature. Make certain you use that chat box because it helps me help you. So if you have questions, I want you to be able to type that in. Now, pay attention, because part of the other thing I see people doing is they're typing messages to everyone when they were meant for that special someone. So if you want to be able to send a message to Beth directly and not any of us see it, if you head on over to that chat box and that little drop-down menu has a little chevron sign at the bottom, if you click it, you're going to see you can actually just choose Beth, and I'm going to send her a message and say, hey girl, and I sent that over, and only she saw that. Nobody else saw it. This is one of the features that I see people not really knowing how to use. They're like, or should I use it? I'm telling you as a speaker, in every situation, when you don't know if you can use the chat box, use the chat box. You would get permission from Sheryl. And if anybody wants to complain, you can tell them that it's Sheryl Hickerson's fault. So with that being said, what I want to do is sort of walk you through some of the things that are here, because I also don't see that people are knowing how to navigate a couple things. For example, when I signed in, it's set up as Sheryl Brown. I got married December 23rd, 2019. So if you go to anybody's box, you can do this. So I can actually come over to, if you're setting up and scheduled the meeting, you can change anybody else's name on here. Now I can go up, and if I click on my little box, there's 3 little dots. It's kind of like a, if I click it, I can actually rename myself real quick, and it now says Sheryl Hickerson. And sometimes, and every time for all of you on this call, when you are going someplace to represent your company, what I would love, love, love as a speaker for you to do is for you to rename it like this, which when I hover over it, it'll say Sheryl Hickerson with Females in Finance. Or if everybody knows your name really well, then you can just rename it to your company name. It's branding. I'm all about branding. I'm so much about branding. I've been featured in 9 books on the topic of branding. So this is something I am very intimately concerned with that we're not doing enough of in financial services. We're not actually putting thought leadership out and talking about ourselves enough. And we're kind of like, oh, there's compliance and oh, there's these things. Definitely when you're in there, either put your name, make sure it is your name. Sometimes people will put like S. Brown. Okay, are you Stephen Brown? Are you Cheryl Brown? Are you Sean Brown? Are you Shirley Brown? Put your name. So go up to the very top, the 3 little buttons, and you can say rename. And while you're in that little 3 little buttons at the top of your picture, and if anybody can't find that, tell me. One of the other things that we're talking about today, we're going to go through everything that's on here. So you can mute the audio. If you feel the need to sneeze, to cough, to clear your throat, to do whatever, just simply go up to the 3. Unmute yourself so that you're not coughing into everybody's ear. We always remember that one person. We also have what? Amazon comes to the door, the dog barks, and it's not intended. Simply go up, and you can either go to the 3 dots and mute yourself, or there is actually a little mute sign right next to it. That's how often Zoom wants you to actually mute yourself. The other thing you can do is stop your video. So my picture will go away. That's what I look like outside of COVID America. That girl looks great. This one right here, not so much with this COVID hair going on. Then I can restart my video. Sometimes what happens is that people are, something comes up, somebody might happen. And of course, like, look at this, it's going to give me a hard time. So we'll just stop it, give it a second, it's gotta catch back. And this is also, we have to talk about bandwidth. Bandwidth, when you're on a call, can anybody see it yet? Has it popped back up with my picture on your end? Okay, thank you for telling me. So what we can do, hold on, I'm gonna unpin my video and see if that helps clear it. Or what you can also do, if Beth, since Beth is the, can you go over and say ask? I'm gonna actually do this. I'm going to do stop video. And then Beth, you as a facilitator, ask me to turn on my video and see if that helps.
Let's see.
You see that? Exactly. Sometimes this is a bandwidth problem, friends. And if it doesn't, that's okay. So what we can do is whenever I want to say something real quick before I forget this. One of the problems that we run into is that people will have this happen, and nobody should freak out. What that means is when everybody has their videos on, and this is really important for you to know as well, Beth, when you facilitate a talk, the more video that's on, the more bandwidth that has to come through, not only on your particular, whether you're on fiber optic or whether you're doing Wi-Fi or et cetera, but it's actually having to come back and through the Zoom account. And sometimes, guess what? At 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when everybody's on Zoom, it's highly overwhelmed.
Yes.
So I highly recommend, if you're going to do your best Zoom meetings and big ones, do them early in the morning, because East Coasters don't like to be up early and on Zoom, FYI. They like to do their work, or do them late in the afternoon. And which is really great because that's oftentimes for the individuals in the West Coast, they're the most busy. If this doesn't click back on for me, don't worry. I'm not that good looking. So
you want me to ask you, do you want me to like stop your video and then?
yeah, you can try it too, but if not, don't freak out. We can keep going. I have
stop your video.
technical issues all the time.
There, okay, so let's see, try it again.
Mhm. And sometimes, like I said, this is just going to be part of Zoom. It's not anything Beth did. It's not going to be anything you guys did. It's just going to be Zoom.
I think people on Zoom are very forgiving. That's the one thing I found with Zoom meetings. We're all very forgiving. We're in a Zoom world.
Exactly. We are in a Zoom world. So what I'll try to even do, Beth, is I'll try to leave and I'll come right back. So everybody talk amongst yourself for a second.
We'll all talk amongst yourselves. And so for those who came in a little bit late, just so you know that we are recording this, and so we'll be sending this out to everybody afterwards. But we're really happy you joined us. So feel free to take your phone, you're off mute if you have any questions or anything else. We'll just pop in anytime, just like I just did. So and Bianca's here too. Bianca is staff at NAFA, Texas. So we're happy you are here. And I noticed that Doug put his photo up, and other people can put their photos up or turn on their cameras. We'd love to see your faces. So we'll see if Sheryl comes back. Oh, there's somebody. Hi. I don't know if that's social distancing, but okay. All right. All right, let's see. Cheryl's coming back, hopefully. Let's see her. And
all right. How's that for go with the flow? Stuff happens.
Yeah.
So you're going to all just have to learn that this is just.
Yep.
Exactly. So what I was also going to say to you while we're up in those three little dots, one of the things that people have a tendency to do today, we're not used to watching ourselves talk. How many of you can admit freely right now that you look at yourself when you're talking? Do I have anything in my mouth? And is my hair okay? And you're fixing your clothes. You don't do that when you're actually talking to somebody. Zoom fatigue, video conferencing fatigue, it's extremely real, everyone. The way that I'm able to do 40 to 50 meetings a week is if you go back up to those three little buttons and it'll say hide self-view. That means that I take myself away and all I see are your lovely faces and not mine. That is really important to help cut down on your Zoom fatigue. When you're not watching yourself, and we're hypercritical, friends, of who we are, how we're presenting ourselves, do we look professional? Do my clothes look okay? Is my background all right? All of that stuff really doesn't matter. So highly recommend that if you are feeling like, I don't know how she does, because people say to me, how do you do 40 of these a week? Because I don't actually look at myself when I'm talking. I'm looking at Bianca. I'm looking at Beth. I'm looking at Elva. I'm looking at Jesus. I'm not looking at Sheryl at all right now, okay? So it's really important, if you're feeling the fatigue, turn it off. The other thing I also want to say, I had the most beautiful conversation yesterday on Zoom with a gentleman who said the most magnificent self-care thing I've heard anybody say on Zoom ever. And I'm, again, 40, 50 of these a week. He got on the call, we greeted each other, and he said, I'm going to turn my video off because I'll keep looking at myself. Like he wanted it not even on there at all. I'm going to shut this off so we can talk. And then he got to the end, and I said, absolutely. He got to the end of his conversation. He clicked back on, turned it on, and said, I just wanted to say goodbye and thank you for your time, but I wanted to see each other. That is self-care, friends. It is really okay today to say to somebody, you know what? I got to be my very best. And in order to do that means I have to turn this video off because otherwise I focus too much on me. I had a lot of respect for someone who was that honest. So as much as I love Zoom, Zoom fatigue is real. It will catch up with you. And if you do not practice self-care, It will eat you alive. You will be so sick of this, or you already are. And if you're already there, use some of these self-care techniques, okay? So having said all of that, what I want to do is also walk you through, those are the big ones in the 3 buttons at the top. You can edit your profile picture if you want. You can do all these other things. But those are the things that I highly recommend, is making certain that you rename yourself if you have to, especially if you're sharing an account. Like, for the longest time, my husband and I shared an account. Sometimes Daryl would log in and he'd have to change that to Daryl Hickerson. Sheryl would have to log in, Sheryl Hickerson. Yes, I know her name's rhyme. It's crazy. So one of the things that I also want to talk to you about is this bar that's at the bottom here. And you're going to see that same mute button. Man, Zoom wants you to use that mute button every chance you can. Use that Zoom. They've made that mute button. They've made it available on your own picture at the top, or however you're looking at it, if you're looking at Brady Bunch style. But they also have it down here below as well, and you can mute yourself. You can also change your microphone, your speakers. That's a little bit more advanced. Most of the time, we don't need to be messing with that stuff. I do have some high technique stuff on here. I do use an application called Crisp, K-R-I-S-P. For example, what Crisp does is it's an application you can download to your phone, your laptop or your desktop, however you're using, and it will help cut back and curtail the outside noise. It keeps my voice crisp, but it dulls when Amazon comes to the ding. It picks up that and takes it away. The dog bark, it helps dull that and take it away. Crisp is actually free to use, so you can download it as an application to your laptop. And no matter if you're using Zoom or GoToMeeting, Google Meet, whatever they are, it'll help with that, and that becomes part of your package. But if you don't want to do that and it's not a worry for you, don't do that, okay? The other thing below, when you look at that bar, is one about the stop video. Well, I'm not going to go there after we just did that. But I do want to point out that right next to the stop video, you're going to see that chevron sign again. And I want you to click the chevron because you can actually choose a virtual background. Now, I see Beth using a virtual background. This is not my office. I'm in my dining room right now. I see Jesus using a virtual background. I think those are the only ones that I see on the call. Everybody else is like, I'm not turning my video on. You can actually click that virtual background. They do give you some choices in here. So like, for example, I do have a tendency, I'm from St. Louis. I miss Cardinal land and country, Busch Stadium. These are my people. So sometimes when I'm talking to my St. Louis people, I do change my virtual background so that we can all, celebrate where we're at. I will also tell you too, for example, when I interview an author, I will change the background to their book when I'm talking about them on here. This is a really good way for me to give them some promotional material. Judy Hoberman's actually a Texan. She's in Southlake, Texas, right outside of Dallas. So this is somebody that I interviewed recently. I had her book on here and I wanted to show you. You can make, and I'm also going to give you some tips on how to make these yourself. But this tends to be my standard go-to. I like this one. It hides a lot. Doesn't have too much deviation around your face and your hair and your hands and things. You are going to see with the virtual backgrounds, because we have so many people coming through them, the reason why they get pixelated, like you can probably see my fingers disappear. I am not turning into Marty McFly from Back to the Future. Rather, instead, it's pixelating because of that bandwidth problem. It's not anything you did. It's not anything I'm doing. It has everything to do with Zoom being overwhelmed. The more that we use it, the more pixelated some of this can become. So stay tuned to that. And I love that Jesus changed his as well. Look at him keeping up. I'm watching you, dude. I'm watching. Okay, so that's how when you go on to certain Zooms and you see people have some of the stuff and they're like, how did they do that? I'm going to show you. Okay, so I want to pull up something real quick and walk you through an exercise because this is really how easy it is. If you've never made one, I'm going to show you how. So, screen. Oh, I need you, Beth, to give me, to make me a hostess of the mostest if you can, so I can share my screen. It says you disabled that. See, she already knew. And let's see, there we go. So I want you to look at using an application such as Canva. Canva's easy. It has a almost super robust free version. I tell everybody free is my second favorite F word behind finance. I love free. It's free is scalable. And then if you come on to Canva, canva.com, and you just type in the word virtual, watch this. It's going to, oh, look, Zoom virtual backgrounds. You can make your own. They have a bunch of them here that you can choose from, and you'll see the one that I'm using is down here. But for example, I'm going to choose a blank one, and I'm going to show you how quickly this is. I can do this. It's not hard. I'm going to go into uploads. I'm going to upload an image, and I'm going to choose logo NAFA. This is just the main logo for NAFA. We're going to pop that in just so it shows up. I'm going to type virtual, if I could type right because you're all on the phone with me, background NAFA, and hit download. This is honestly how easy this is, everyone. And it's preparing it. It's going to download it. Great. It's going to tell me, hey, you should buy our stuff. Hey, don't need to right now. I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to go back to choose virtual background. And then there it's going to have a big fat plus button that says add an image. And so when I do that, I'm going to come over here and we're going to choose virtual background, open, ta-da. And now I have NAFA. So that's how Beth did hers. That's how Jesus is doing his. And you can move those images around. I just did this very quick. So going back to what I said at the very beginning of this call, what I like everybody to brand themselves. If you are not telling the story and showing the story of who you are as a brand, do not depend on me as the person to consume your brand to go find it and figure it out. They're not doing it. They're on Amazon buying socks that look like strips of bacon. They're looking at retargeted ads on Facebook. They're gone, is my point. So it is your responsibility as a brand to continue to advertise who you are at all times so that people see your brand with you. Make sense? Use the chat box. Make sure you do that if you have any questions. I'm checking it. If you wrote anything before I had to pop back in, then I didn't see that. So if you said it, that was the perfect time for you to say something about me because I wouldn't have seen it. So having said all of that, one of the other things that I also want to point out is I'm actually going to pull up my own Zoom account and we're actually going to schedule a meeting and we're going to walk through some of the things and I'm going to show you what they are because I see a lot of people. The FYI, this timing that Beth chose to do this is extremely timely. Zoom is right now. So if you have anything that's in your Zoom already scheduled for past September 30th, you need to go reschedule those because they are updating their security yet again. So remember, probably many of you saw the cybersecurity problems that they had at the very beginning because I don't think that Zoom expected, hey, a pandemic's going to come. We're going to go up 200% in product in like overnight. And all of a sudden they were crashing and they had these problems and there's always hackers out there. They ruin everything. They're like the kids that just always talked in class and the teacher told them to be quiet. So now they had to go back and revamp and update. If you have anything scheduled after September 30th on your Zoom, you're going to have to reschedule that to make sure that it's as secure as possible, especially since you're in financial services. So let me find my Zoom account and get it pulled up. I never mind showing what I got in here. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to show them? Yeah, I don't really care. So I got nothing on here to hide. So let me share my screen again. And make sure I have it. Here we go. So this is my actual Zoom account that I'm populating right now. This is what it's going to look like. Now, let's talk about Zoom free versus Zoom pay.
I don't think we see anything. I don't see anything. I'm not sure if anybody else does.
I don't see anything.
Screen. Okay, I just see a black screen.
I don't
So, okay. It says you're screen sharing, but yet you're not. Uh-oh. Did she go away? Oh, no. Cheryl, are you there?
Yep. They popped me out again. So.
Okay, there you are. Okay, try again. You're back.
Yep, it's just got to be one of those days.
Cheryl? What
all right.
are you in? Okay.
Man, I'm telling you, I feel like I'm the champ now. It's like I'm showing you all the things that go wrong with Zoom.
That's perfect.
And you just got to
go
with the flow. All right. So this is my actual Zoom account. And you're going to see starting September 27th, that comment I made about meetings have to have a waiting room or a passcode enabled.
Mm-hmm.
That's for security purposes. It really does. So if somebody gets pissed that you changed something, don't let that bother you. Just say, I'm sorry, Zoom changed this and I have to update. Thank you for being patient. I'm going to have the most secure Zoom thing possible for you, the Zoom room for you. One of the things that we're going to walk through is when we schedule this meeting, I'm going to walk you through some of the things I see people missing when they set up their first, when they schedule their meeting. Oh, I mentioned to you prior to Zoom booting me out. There is Zoom Free and Zoom Premium. Zoom Free gives you 45-minute Zoom room. If you only have 30-minute meetings, you never go over that, stay Zoom Free all you want. I do a lot of 1 hours because I have a podcast that I use this for. I teach coaching calls for marketing on this. I have meetings with my regional delegates for my membership organization. I have all kinds of stuff. So I need that the full enchilada, the premium is $16 a month. Worth it. For me, number one expense, not even a thought. I just do it. So when you click on your Zoom, and usually when you type in, it's going to pop up just like this once you get an account. You're going to schedule a new meeting. And then here's where things go awry because they're all dependent on you as humans to start filling this stuff out. Be very clear on what the topic is of your meeting. Stop putting Sheryl and Bianca talk. I'm going to tell you right now, I love Bianca. She knows I got mad hearts for her, but I know 4 Biancas. And then I go, oh, which Bianca is it? And I have to go and think. So for Bianca, she didn't know I was going to be picking on her today. So I'm going to put on here like Bianca. So discussion. Guess what? That's very clear for me now when this shows up on my calendar. Because if not, I'm like, what am I doing? I can't remember. Don't put yourself through the frustration. And you know what? For the other persons, so they understand that when you're doing like a one-on-one meeting like this, this is a follow-up from our LinkedIn discussion. Or this is a follow-up from your email to me, whatever it is. It kind of helps Bianca remember, oh yeah, this is why Sheryl and I are talking. Bianca and I have actually met prior to this life, so this is not shocking that I'm doing all of this. So she's going now. So the other thing is, if this is a conversation that you have a lot, you can actually, you'll be able to make this into a template so you never have to do this again. So if you have something that's pretty standard boilerplate of a process that you do, it might be a client onboarding call. It might be a review, policy review for life insurance application, life insurance policy. It doesn't matter. Make sure that you put in a topic like life insurance policy review. And then when you go to save this in a minute, and I'll show you where you're going to do that. You never have to type that again. I'm all in favor of never doing things again. If I can do them one time and do it well, that's all I want to do. So put your time into your first one. You never have to really put it into any of the others, okay? And then, of course, pick your time. And I'm just going to choose something on here. It doesn't matter, random. How all this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. I will tell you this. Make sure that you're picking your time zone. If you're the scheduler, it's your time zone. So if anybody's in Eastern and it comes to me, I'm going to get in Central Time. So please keep that in mind. The only time this ever changes is when you are physically going to be in another time zone. For example, I'm going to go to San Francisco, maybe in January. If I set up this meeting and I want the time zone to show up as that, I can change it. Now, That's only for Zoom's purposes. Your calendar is going to be set to whatever you set it to. So for example, I pretty much stick to everything in Central Time Zone because I'm there and I haven't traveled anywhere since March 11th because of quarantine. So it's going to stay the same. When I send it out to my friend in San Francisco and I set it up for a 1-hour call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me, what is that? 12 o'clock Pacific time because they're 2 hours behind all of us, right? So y'all just have to understand that setting it in your own time zone, very important. Don't mess with it. Just pretty much don't mess with it. And I see people messing with it. Don't. For the registration link, you only want people to have to register if you really want to get all those email notifications of who's signed up. Beth is going to want registration. She's going to want to know which one of you as members showed up, who didn't, so she knows who she was recording to, etc. If this is a one-on-one, like I'm having a chat with Bianca, I don't need Bianca to register. Bianca knows she's talking to me and I'm talking to her and nobody else is going to be there. We're good. So I don't require that. The meeting ID, I just let it generate automatically. I highly recommend you don't mess with that. Now, the meeting password, remember what it said. You either have to have a password or you have to enable the waiting room. Remember how it said that, right? That's what's going to happen after September 27th. So see how that's clicked down here? So if I want to make it easy peasy on Bianca, I can just take away the password so she doesn't have to go and do all of that. I always set it for my video to be on, and I always set it for participants to be off if they want to choose to be on, because I'm going to tell you right now, I have seen one, I have seen a dozen of these video fails that happen, and we laugh at people who clicked on a video and they were in the bathroom. You know, we see people are laughing because they know it's true. Just do your participants a favor and turn it off. Let them actively turn their own video on, okay? And then for audio, I always click both because I want people, they're gonna call in from their phone, call in from their computer to be able to have the ability to do either of them, okay? If you force someone to do computer audio and they can't get there, you can't be the one to complain that says, oh, they didn't show up. Well, maybe their computer died. Maybe their Wi-Fi was out. Maybe, and there's too many maybes, so I just always say do both. Now, meeting options. Here we go. This is where I see a lot of mistakes happening. The one thing I do is I always see people can join before me, so they can go sit in that little room that Zoom, it's sort of a fake cloud room, if you will. They can sit there. So they can, because sometimes, not that I've ever run late for a meeting, sometimes if we run late for a meeting, they can be ready to go. And then when you click, bam, you're ready to rock and roll and go. So I always click the join before host and I always click mute. That way, if somebody is talking when they come in and you have multiple people in the room, they're not disrupting the entire room with their conversation. Okay. And this is where that enable waiting room, you have to have either this clicked or back up to the passwords. You have to have a password. So I don't want to have Bianca all inconvenienced. She's doing me a favor by meeting with me. I enable the waiting room. It puts her into an abeyance area. I start the meeting. It popped up. Many of you, Beth had that happen with the waiting room, and I saw it. So-and-so sitting in the waiting room. And it allows her to have a much cleaner, structured meeting. And that's why you want to be able to do that. The other ones have to do with people who are on your account. Probably not many of you have a bunch of users on your Zoom account. Now that Daryl has, my husband's a financial service professional as well. He has his own Zoom account. He doesn't want me in his business and I don't need him in mine. So I don't need to authenticate any users to join. And I also have a tendency, I have it set to record the meeting, but I gotta be honest with you, I only record meetings anymore when it has to do with podcasts. Like I need to have that audio part back so I can use that part of it. The rest of it, I just unclick it. I don't need to record this. Beth does because she's going to repopulate it to someplace else. So if you're doing like a webinar, you absolutely. And I will also tell you in the cloud, every chance you can use it. especially if you're on the paid platform, because it's there for you to use versus cluttering up your computer. Now, I have a tendency to be a perfectionist, and I don't like the cloud. I want it on my computer because it organizes it very clean. I use it as part of my checks and balance, and I get to see, oh yeah, I need this, I need that, and I clean that out. That's just me being weird, okay? Do what works for you. Either put it on the computer or put it in on the cloud, either way. The alternative hosts are the same situation where you are having somebody on your account who could be running this. So for example, maybe Bianca is running something very specific for her NAFA chapter, and then she wants Beth to be able to join. She can make her an alternative host to be a part of that. When you click save, here's where everybody goes, oh, I'm done. No, you're not. You're not done. You're not done. You have to do one of a couple things. If you don't have your Zoom already linked to your calendar, make sure you've added it. There's ways to connect all that. That's a little touch and go. Sometimes right from here, you can just click and it'll save it and it makes it easy. Sometimes people don't know what's called an API, and that's a fancy term for making sure everybody's talking to one another. It's an integration. But what I'm most interested in are a couple of other things. So one, see that invite link? Then I want to make sure Bianca has that, right? So ideally what's going to happen is I can either right click it and just copy the link address. And then sometimes, maybe all the time, let's see here. I have to go in here and I'm going to type in LinkedIn. And then I do this a lot. If it's helpful to you, great. If it's not, that's okay too. But I will actually pull up Bianca's, there she is. And I would come in here and type in, here's the link for our meeting. Boom, gone. So she has that, great. Okay, now remember, we're still not done. We're just not done. Because there's so many other things you can be doing from a branding perspective. So give Zoom a second, it's catching up. It's telling me, wait, so I have a tendency to do this, hold on. So let's do exit that and share the screen again. I don't know why it keeps kicking me out, but hey, it's okay. All right, so I sent her a message and I sent that to her as well, right? Well, we're going to come back up here and I'm going to show you something else that you can be doing, because remember, I'm all about the branding. Yeah, you can either save this as a meeting template, back to what I said originally, because you set it all up, it's perfect. And I can save this as a meeting, or what I can also do is come down and actually edit a few things. Now that you've saved it, because they do require you to save it first, what you can do is, oh, actually, I'm going to add, let me do something here, hold on. If you were to have multiple people on this meeting, so let's say you want to do a webinar, you're going to be, if you click the word required for the registration, which is what Beth probably had all of you guys do if I had to guess, and you save this, guess what's going to pop? Watch what happens. That bottom piece that I just showed you, oh, look at all this, email settings, branding, live streaming, a bunch of other stuff pops up because you required someone to register. In Zoom's mind, registration means multiple people. When it's one-on-one, you don't really need to have them register. You just create a link and it's done. But this is where I don't see people doing, coming down here and creating a banner and adding your logo. Your logo should be on everything that you do. And so I'm going to put my Females in Finance logo in there. And then if I had a banner, I think the virtual background I made is probably going to be too big, but well, hey, we'll try it. Yeah, it's too big. So I'd have to go back and resize that to 1280, but you could actually put a banner. So if you're doing like a talk about you're, walking through a life insurance policy, you're going to do a 401k, how to do a 401k rollover, and you were doing that, you would actually want to create a banner that's 1280 by 400 and it's going to show up and it's going to look a lot slicker, because what you want people to be able to do is to click this button now, and it's going to pop up and look like this. Got branding on it, looks clean. They can add it someplace else. They can do a whole bunch of other stuff on here. Okay, makes sense? I also want to walk you through and show you one thing that a lot of people don't know. So when people talk about Zoom, there are so many other video conferencing applications out there. Zoom gets overwhelmed. We saw it happen today on this call, right? What are you going to do? Especially if you know it's something that's really important. You're like, oh, I just don't want this to happen, and this is important to me. I'm going to give you some options. So I know that some of you see the GoToMeeting, the GoToWebinar. We're pretty familiar. You know, pricing on that's similar, whatever. Another one is free conference call. It has a good virtual background. Everything you're doing here, it's set up very similar. It looks very similar to Zoom as far as the way things work. Google now has Google Meet. Quality's not that great. Just keeping that real. Quality's not great. You could do a Skype, but I'm going to show you my secret. Here's my secret. When I want to do that one-on-one meeting with Bianca, and I don't want Bianca to have to be troubled, I use an application called Whereby. So as great as Zoom is for all of this stuff, Whereby is wonderful when you just need a quick meeting room. So think of it as like the WeWork of video conferencing, okay? So you can join, remember free, second favorite F word. You can sign up for a free account that allows up to 4 people in one room at a time. And I can go to my room. This may be where I don't want the video to be on. Good, see, it kicked it off, good. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give that link to Bianca and say, meet me there at 2 o'clock, okay? Guess what? The room's unlocked. I can lock it if I want to, so nobody gets in. But the room I leave unlocked. There's a lot of times where I do meeting hours when I need people. I say, hey, first 4 who show up at this time and want some free marketing help, there you go. And let me tell you, packs, it comes in, it's packed, and nobody else can get in till that person gets out, because I'm not paying for it. I have up to 4 people and I'm one of them, so it's really 3 people. This is how I give away free marketing help. It also is a great way to meet with people on the quick. And it's pretty slick. You can share, you can record, you can chat, you can do all kinds of stuff like you're doing in Zoom, all web browser, all web browser. That means you can log in from your phone as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection. So think about Safari, think about Android. You can definitely get on there through Google Chrome, through Safari for Apple. If you're on your laptop, on your desktop, you can get back to this because it's all web browser. Web browser does mean, though, that you're at the mercy of your internet connection. Well, you're already there with Zoom anyway because you're on a web browser. This makes it pretty slick, pretty fast, very quick. And then Bianca has that opportunity just to click and go and be in the room when we said we would meet. So, oh, go ahead, Jesus. You can unmute yourself and just ask. I'm easy peasy.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, do you know how long you can keep the room for once you get the meeting started? Is it like 45 minutes for free or?
Yeah, they give you about a 3-minute window, to be honest with you, and then they will kind of boot you, they'll just close the room.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So in that particular instance where you're meeting one-on-one and you don't want to go to the paid and you know you're going to be an hour, use this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question. See, I'm easy, friends. You can ask questions. I like that. So that's kind of been the basics. I mean, that's 45 minutes of Zoom that probably, some of it you're probably thinking, oh, Sheryl, I already knew that. But then I also wanted to offer you other things that you may not have known, like using alternative video conferencing. Use it for a variety of reasons. Use it because it shows your clients that you're varied, that you're technical, that you're current, you're relevant. Use others so that you're not tying up Zoom. If you're going to do a meeting in the middle of the day and you're going to do it during peak hours, then guess what? I'll tell you something right now. I tell everybody who has large meetings in the middle of the day, make everybody turn their video off. Your meeting will fly. It will fly across the internet. If you're going to make everybody turn their video on at 12 o'clock Central, it's going to be very difficult for that bandwidth to stay up with it. And so then you suffer on quality, pixelation, people getting booted. You get the little unstable signs that show up, et cetera. And then you're going to just do one-on-one, one to couple meetings. Maybe you have a business owner that's in Dallas, one's in Denton, one's in Houston, one's in Austin, or whatever. You can have a couple of people meet you in a whereby room very quickly and get things done. So does that help? Does anybody feel that that was helpful? Was it, nah, you won't hurt my feelings. Any questions of stuff that you would like to see? There are way more advanced features on here. For example, you can live stream from Zoom to Facebook. I do it all the time. But then there's other applications you can be using to live stream onto LinkedIn and to Facebook and to places else places that you want to use different live streaming applications. That's when you start getting a little bit more advanced. But for everyday day-to-day stuff, my biggest concern for every one of you on the call here, one is to always represent you and your brand well. That's mine, always. And then two, I'm really worried about your self-care and making certain that you're doing things that help mentally so that you're not fatigued, you're not zoomed out, you're not every time somebody says Zoom going, because I see the faces. It's just some self-care techniques that I want you to do because I personally need to protect all of you because you do fantastic work in your particular vein of talent, and our communities need our financial service professionals, especially given today's environment.
I'd just like to say, I think these are some really great tips. And as somebody who's on Zoom a lot as well, and had to transition very quickly over to Zoom meetings, both one-on-one and for groups, I feel the fatigue, but I also think it's such a useful tool, the virtual meetings, and have gotten a lot out of it. And I hear from our members who've had to transition, they have seen their business grow quite a bit. From using it. They've really been able to connect to people quickly. So I think it's been a great tool, and I hope people continue to use it even as we hopefully go back to face-to-face, we'll continue to use this, I think. But I know some people did probably have some specific questions. So I hope, if you haven't had your questions answered, please take your microphone off mute and ask, or if you don't feel comfortable doing there, you can put it in the chat if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. Bianca, you were a great model for me to use on Zoom. She had no idea. I'm like, oh, I know her. I can pick on her.
And yeah, Bianca's going to be hosting her first Zoom webinar next week.
Right on.
Yeah.
Does this help?
Oh my gosh, yes. I actually learned a few things about Zoom that I did not know about. And the biggest thing was the hide self view. I did not know that was a function, and I could not wait to use it because like you said, I'm totally the type of person where when I'm on something like this and I can see myself, I look at myself and I just stare at myself. And it's
I know we do. And just so you guys know, it's all very normal behaviorally. Nobody's a narcissist. Yeah. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. So don't think of like, why do I keep looking at myself? Why do I keep looking at myself? And it's because we're very familiar with this face, and that person knows me well. And so I don't have to look at Jesus, who's the first time he's ever met me, and be like, hey, that girl's nuts. I can look at Sheryl and know that, you know what, girl, I got you later on. We're good together. So it's one of those things, just so you know, it's very normal, but it's also extremely fatiguing. It's very fatiguing.
Yes, it is.
So
it's like having a mirror in front of you.
It is. It's like, I know, I feel like people say like, what did you do today? I'm like, talk to myself for 9 hours. 9 hours.
Slap on a lot of makeup and look at myself all day. That's what I do.
I know. But it is very normal, just so you guys all know. I mean, I promise if I could put like my grandkids on here instead, I'd be looking, they went, hi, that'd be so much cuter to look at. But this is what you get, so. I'm glad you learned some stuff, though. This really warms my heart. What did you guys think about Whereby?
that's a great tool, and I hope to possibly use that as well. I'm going to definitely check it out because I do a lot of those one-on-one on the fly meetings as well, and it seems like a quick, easy tool. So
yeah, you don't have to go set up anything. You just send them the link to the room, and it's a wrap. Jesus, what did you think about Whereby?
I thought it could be very useful, especially when we're having to call some of our clients, and some of them want to share like stuff through a whiteboard or send files immediately. So
yeah, it's pretty neat. Now, where are you at in Texas?
San Antonio.
Right on. Right on. You guys have a pretty nice view there. That's not too shabby. I've spoken in San Antonio several times.
Cool, that's awesome.
Bianca, where are you at?
I'm in Austin.
Okay. Oh, you've got great food.
Oh, yes, we do. Oh,
And you guys take your animals very seriously in Austin. I think I told you we were on the call last time. I went into the Alex and Ani shop and there was a woman with a pig. And I do not mean a cute pig. I'm talking about bacon. Like, she was there. And I looked at the store lady and I said, wow, this is very Texan. Like, there's a pig in the store. She goes, I don't even know what to say, but it's attracting people in the store. So bring the pig in. I don't care. It brought people.
There you go.
I was like, okay. But I do. I love me some Austin. And I saw somebody said thanked me for that was great. So Mike
moved on. It was found it very helpful. Well, anyway, if there's no other questions, then I guess we'll wrap it up. Like I said, this will be recorded, so we'll send it out. Bianca's our editor, so she'll edit it.
Make me look good.
Editor, yeah.
She's our
Beth.
Cut out all the fails. Yeah, cut out all the fails.
Yeah, and send it on. But we hope to see you on more NAFA Texas virtual events and hopefully eventually live events again. So keep checking that calendar. And like I said, Bianca will be the star of our next one next week, our first legislative update. So with our lobby. So,
right. Okay.
So that'll be an exciting one.
Thank you for this. I appreciate it.
So much, Cheryl. And if you haven't checked out Females in Finance, it's a great resource and a great.
And we do take men too. Don't be
scared.
Yeah,
they give a lot of shout outs to men. So yeah, it's also a great resource there as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us and have a great afternoon. We'll touch
All right,
you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.